The job facing incoming Frank Lampard, presuming he takes the job at Chelsea, is to sort out what they do with the impending transfer ban. Craig, as we take a look at Chelsea's loan army, of course it's been a subject of great debate over the last few years. What on earth these loans are for, what on earth the long list of players are that Chelsea have established. Are they trying to breed a first team, or are they trying to simply raise revenue? What would you do if you're Frank Lampard, given that you can't sign any players with the players you already have?
Well, he's got to assess his squad first and foremost. It has been a talked about subject, the amount of players Chelsea have had out on loan. I don't know the reason for that. Certainly, in some senses, it's players that are experienced at a surplus of requirements. They need to get off the wage bill or partially off the wage bill. In other senses, it's youngsters who need to go out and gain experience, with one day hopefully coming back in and getting some game time, which has been problematic for a lot of the big clubs in the Premier League and other leagues around the world because of the pressures on a manager. If we think they can't sign anybody, if we presume the situation stays as it is, I think, strangely enough, the first port of call has to be this. Now, I know it's complicated with Atletico Madrid and the player himself, and he probably doesn't want to come back to London, but when your only other option is Higuain's gone back to his parent club as Olivier Giroud, and you can't sign anybody, you've got to say, look, played for Real Madrid, played for Juventus, played in Champions League finals, led the line for Spain. He's better than what we saw. Absolutely 100%. Can I, Frank Lampard and Jody Morris, get in his head, get the best out of him? Because the other options are not out there. That would be my first port of call.
And they have to cancel that one-year loan as well, with the option that Atletico Madrid do have to buy him. OK, so let's say you've got Alvaro Morata. Where else do you go next? I presume it's not Tammy Abraham then. If you
no, he led the line. He led the line well for Villa, but clearly, if you can get him, you get a tune out of Morata, then that's where you go. I'm going a bit of experience again. Big disappointment both at Chelsea and I suppose at Milan, where he was sort of up and down. But we know if you can get in his head, that he can cover the field as good as any player in the game. And again, I think from a manager's point of view, that's what I'm looking at. I'm not just thinking about, might be a youngster I can get in and maybe he can play in the... We know he can play in the Premier League. We know he can. We just haven't seen it properly. So that would be my next port of call. OK,
that's a player that they paid good money for a couple of years ago.
Correct.
What do you do about... Well, we can look at another striker in Batshuayi or elsewhere. Do you want to address the defensive side?
Yeah, I think Zouma's had it. I think Zouma's chances are kind of running out. Went to Everton on loan. You know, I'm not sure. So I'm going to go here for young Tomori. Primarily because, one, he was, as the boys were telling me, I didn't know this, I'm not taking credit. Maybe you knew it, I didn't know. He was Derby's Player of the Year. I should know that, being a former Derby player. Not really. He did really well. On loan, under Frank Lampard. Knows him. I'm surmising whether Frank thinks he's ready to come in, not as a starter, but as a squad player. And I think maybe that's where he'll go. And a good opportunity for the youngster to come in, maybe get some game time this year.
Yeah, and there's talk, of course, that Zouma might well be going back to Merseyside if Everton can arrange the deal. But you'd have thought that Lampard would want to take a look at him, or he's going to know him anyway at this point.
Zouma? I think he knows. I think he knows all about him. Then I think you're right. I think he could be one. You know, I don't see him at Chelsea long term, and I could see him at Everton where he was last year. If you hit young Mason Mount for me, I'll stick him in here for the very same reasons I stuck him in. You know, again, a talented young boy who had a really good year at Derby, worked under Frank for a full year, and Jody Morris, who know him really well. And again, with that ban, not starting 11 players, but youngsters who may come in and get an opportunity and give Frank an option, whether they can play in the Premier League or not, over a longer period remains to be seen. But I think, you know, getting those two back in the current circumstances, probably the guys would be another year at Derby, at least. But if they could sign players, but they can't at the moment, so I would imagine they're somebody that Frank's looking at.
You would have thought there'd be no-brainers for him if he takes the job, of course, having had them last year, and Mason Mount been at the club since he was 6. And you
play well for a manager for a year, albeit in the Championship, you're kind of hoping he recognises that.
Yeah, OK, so you've got one more spot here as your top 5 priorities. Well, who would you go with here?
You mentioned Pasalic is probably going to go back to Italy. He's been pretty good there. I don't think Abraham is going to cut the mustard there, and they've got Morata and Giroud. It might take Abraham back, but I'm going to say another one who's probably not long-term, Batshuayi. Just give me that, just for the fact that, you know, we know he's a more proven player than Tammy Abraham. He did it in the Championship. He's done it bits and pieces in all the loan places he's been. So I'm going to go for those 5 to come back and at least play some sort of part. But hell knows with Morata, it's all sort of in the head, isn't it?
Yeah, but at least he's got Batshuayi as an option as well.
Or Tammy Abraham if he wants to bring him back. But if Morata doesn't come back and they can't sign anybody, and it's Olivier Giroud and Michy Batshuayi, there ain't going to be many goals at Stamford Bridge this year.
Okay, as the thoughts of Craig on the Lone Army situation for Frank Lampard.